We are so excited because we have a special third guest for you
I
today.
know. It's like
I
we have
know.
3 this time, and and all the guests today are really amazing.
No pressure. No pressure. We are joined by Mr. Allen Valor. I've known Allen for, I don't even know, a long time now.
8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say about 10, so I was being gracious. Yeah, about 8 years. And Allen is an actor, a producer, very involved in the film industry here. I always feel like it puts pressure on people, but I will say he's one of the funniest actors that I know. Like on film, just watching his performance, it's like he's really funny. But hi, Allen. Thanks for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So I think what I want to start with talking about is kind of, we'll start serious and work up to some of the fun things. A lot of people don't know what it takes to really be an actor, especially maybe in Arizona where,
Right.
we're not flush like LA or New Mexico necessarily with castings all the time.
Yeah.
What does that take to be an actor? Like as your job, as your passion, what does that require from you?
Personally, it's a lot of determination and a lot of sacrifice. When being an actor in a community where, there's not a lot of money, there's not a lot of opportunities, you tend to have to focus a little bit more on that career, and it can cause a lot of stress when it comes to like relationships with people, because it's something that you have to focus on a lot more as opposed to being part of the LA scene where there's a lot more opportunities, a lot more casting and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
And I know you did something that I had done in the past too, which was sometimes you stop waiting for projects to come to you
Yes.
and you do your own projects,
Yes.
right? You want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Kevin R. Phipps, very well known in the community. We got together and we produced a horror film called Dr. Seville's Horror Show. And I star in that. I play the evil mastermind, Dr. Seville.
Yeah, I guess you weren't funny in that one, but
No, there was a few funny moments.
yeah.
Like you said, it's when it comes to Arizona, you kind of have to pull a Bradley Cooper, where he did Limitless, because he was starting to be typecast. So he's like, well, I'm just going to do it on my own. I'll be an action star.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing here. I found that the best route in order to succeed in what I'm trying to do is to continue to create my own material and put myself out there that way. A lot of, I guess you could say there was a lot of mistakes made, not exactly sure what route to go in order to be seen. I found that it's probably better. Making a feature film is very, very difficult, and when you succeed at it, you kind of ask yourself, well, what's the real reason why I'm making a feature film?
Yeah.
And usually it's because you're just trying to sell it, because
Right.
otherwise, you're really not. I mean, you could submit it to festivals, but I found that it's easier to make a lot of short films and star in them, and that's a great way to advertise yourself.
Right.
And so that's what I'm working on now, is just continuously doing short films, starring me, different genres, to kind of put myself out there, submit it to different festivals, and it's pretty much the best route to go as far as I'm concerned.
Visibility is really important when you're
Yeah.
an actor, and it's all about like, what have you done for me lately? Like, it doesn't matter if you had a really great film 5 years ago. It's like, but what are you working on? That's always the industry joke. Like, whenever you go to a party, it's like, oh, what are you working on right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, but Allen, I thought, was really interesting because when I directed my first feature film, I was very strategic about how simple it was. I chose something that had very few locations, a small cast, no special effects. Like, I was like, this is going to be as manageable and doable as possible just to see if I can do this. And they do Dr. Seville's Horror Show, which for people that may not be familiar with it, is a really high quality horror film. And it is it's a huge cast, tons of sets, special effects, all the things, practical effects. You know, it was a huge undertaking. So for those that might not be familiar, why don't you talk a little bit about Dr. Seville's horror show and what that's all about?
Yeah. So Dr. Seville's horror show, it's a horror anthology, and it revolves around 3 stories that are interconnected. There's so many horror anthologies out there, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Trilogy Terror, you know, the list goes on. From a distribution standpoint, one of the things that we needed to strive for was how could we be different?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did in the film, our writer, Craig Chenery, very brilliant man, he made it to where all 3 stories, because you have a wraparound story, and then it keeps trailing off into these 3 different stories, these 3 different tales, but they're all interconnected with the characters. Sort of like Pulp Fiction, where it's kind of played out of order. Another unique thing about Dr. Seville is usually a wraparound story, you have like the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt, not very deep, you know, you just have like a creepy guy just kind of says a couple lines and introduces the next film. The Dr. Seville character actually has a very in-depth story behind that as well. So those are some of the unique aspects of that film. And I believe our budget was around $7,500.
That's it?
Yeah.
It looks like a multi-million-dollar film.
However, it took about 3 years to do.
Right.
And that got me thinking about my career and how, you know, you learn from your mistakes. And I don't regret doing Dr. Seville at all, but now I'm focusing on things a lot more simple.
Yeah.
And focusing more on my acting career as opposed to being a producer, because being a producer without money in Arizona is terrible, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's extremely challenging. So, not to sound like going to a party, but like, what's next for you? Like, what do you got on the docket?
Yeah. So there is a short film. We're working out the budget right now. I finished writing it last month. It's a dark comedy called Prank Call Disaster.
Okay.
I probably can't talk about it because it's a G-rated show.
Okay.
But it should be pretty funny. I think some people will get it, some people won't get it, you know. But and then just finished another short film, close to finishing it. It's kind of an experimental film, and it's a character study based on me in the life of being a film producer.
Yeah.
And so Daniel Blunk, him and I, we started shooting that. We have a few pickup shots that we're going to do early next year.
Okay.
And then, early next month. And let's see what else.
Can I ask, is the one with the cat viewable? Can people watch that?
Not yet.
I love that one.
I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be in other film festivals.
Okay.
I'll have to check. But I will probably just post it on my YouTube channel soon.
Okay.
So then everyone can view it.
And so what is your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just Allen Valor, YouTube.
Okay.
It's just, there's not much on there right now. It's pretty much just trailers of things that I've been in. Catastrophe is one of them, Dr. Seville's horror show, and then just a little few other things of my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are a horror fan, I definitely recommend you check out and follow Dr. Seville's horror show, which, if you didn't figure it out, he plays Dr. Seville, the title character in the anthology. And the Catastrophe film is hilarious. It is so funny. So I do hope that you post that one, because I tell people about it like randomly all the time, I feel like. But thank you so much, Allen, for joining us today and for being on the show. If you would love to check out Allen's work, is the YouTube the best way, or is there a website?
You could, best way to get a hold of me personally is you could follow me on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, Allen Valor, Instagram. I think I'm the only Allen Valor that exists. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Pretty easy to find.
There's like 17 million Melissa Farleys, I feel like.
But you're one of a kind.
I am. Well, thank you, Allen. We so loved having you here. We're going to take one more quick break. We'll be right back to wrap up the show with some things to do and a little bit of history, I think.
Indeed, there's always more.
Right.